Hello and welcome to my gallery here in southwest France. I'm Diana, I'm a watercolourist. I work with watercolours all the time. I love to paint, and I want in this video to cover different techniques to help you to create lovely washes, skies and seas. Laying a wash is a difficult thing to do, although it looks very simple. And I've had a couple of weeks off. I've been back to the UK to visit family, and happily I was up in the northeast of Scotland during that time. A beautiful part of the world with wonderful skies and wonderful seas, and at this time of year the light is wonderful too. So I took some photographs. Here you can see two of them. I've printed them out on photographic paper, and I'm going to use these two images to help you to understand the best way to lay washes and mistakes to avoid. I've entitled this video Don't Go Back, because during my time in the UK I had the opportunity to give a tutorial to two friends of my daughter, and they requested that they would like to do a sunset. So off we went with the colour, the palettes. I'd taken all the materials I needed to give them that class, and the very moment they started with the washes for the sunset, I found myself saying, no, don't go back. If you go back, there will be things happening which you can't change, which are going to spoil the overall effect. And so that sort of sprung into mind, well, that's a good subject for a video. So first of all, I'd like to explain the materials that I'm using. Just a small piece really of 300 gram Arches watercolour paper. My palette is a palette of ultramarine blue with a blob of permanent rose. I do have Payne's grey here further down in the palette, but just to start off with, I'm just going to use a combination of these two colours. Now I'm going to cover the mistakes first. How things can go drastically wrong when painting a wash. And we start at the top and work down with the colour. We can graduate it by adding more water. But the common mistakes that people make at the start, first of all, are number one, not using the right brush. I have a size 10 mop brush, natural hairbrush here. This size will hold plenty of paint, plenty of water, and give you lots more scope to add the paint to the paper so that it's shiny wet. This is important. If you use a smaller mop brush like this one, you won't have the same covering power. So it is important to start with a big natural hairbrush. I'm also using quite a small width of paper now because that's easier. So don't start with a great long landscape, big amount of paper to cover, because that will make it harder for you. Now I've mixed the paint already. I have my usual 2 pots of watercolour, and I'm going to demonstrate potentially what you can do wrong. This will be quite tricky for me really, but I'll give it my best shot. So I'm starting off with a dark blue, and I filled the brush, and what I find the common fault to start off with is that people go into painting walls scenario. So they start with the colour and they go like this and they put it on until the brush starts to lose colour, and this means that they're working too dry. This is exactly what happened in my tutorial last week. Hannah, she was really wanting to have a dark sky and applied the paint thickly. Then, seeing that there was a problem and having been suggested that she add more water, she went back in with water, and the result was that the watercolour pigment was moved, and if you can see, it kind of removes the colour and moves it, just like the sea coming in on dry sand, and moves the colour. So the first real best hint I can give you is to start with the brush that is fully loaded with paint but diluted to the point where you can apply it like this across, and then you can go again like this, again like this. So you have this consistency of coverage. If you go back in, never go back with a watercolour wash, as I'll demonstrate as we go. You can add water and just dilute the colour, but don't go backwards and forwards with the brush. Just apply it evenly and gently. You can see where we applied the water, it's gone lighter, which for skies is a really good effect that you want to produce. And we can go in darker and add a darker tone, just take it across. But we're always working with the wet edge. Notice I have my paper propped on this board. It's not attached, but that means that the colour will run down and form a line, which I can then pick up the colour and move. So going along like this will give us a graduated wash, which can be variable according to how much water we introduce. Again, I can introduce more water here, which will give us a lighter band of colour. But always the colour will move down and we get this lovely graduation. So working too dry will not help. Going back in, if you work too dry, will only create, they're called different things. Some people say they're blooms, others say it's a cauliflower. In France, it's a nuage, nuage being the word for cloud. See what happens now if I apply water to the top of the wash here. This is something you would never do unless you want to create clouds and other effects, but it is really quite tricky to do. I'm going to put the paper flat and I'm going to add water here. And look what happens instantly. Well, actually, it's not that instant, but over a period of time. Can you see the effect we're getting, which cannot be changed? So never go back into a wash. You can use this effect to your own advantage, and you'll see that in the demo that I'm going to do just in a little while, because I want to create a cloudy sky, and this is a still, quiet sky. But you can see how going back with water into a wash just creates this effect, which is very hard and difficult to change. Fine if you want to create clouds, but not if you want to create a graduated wash. So work diluted, work gently with a large brush full of diluted paint, and move in one direction across the paper, end to end. Hope this helps. So now I'm going to use some of the techniques that we've just been describing and how to avoid the mistakes, to using this image of the sky and the sea To create a similar image here, I have the paint prepared, a combination again of ultramarine blue with some cobalt turquoise this time and permanent rose. I have my large mop brush and 2 pots of paint. I'm going to speed up the process so the picture will evolve quickly, and I'll add comments where necessary. If you're enjoying this video and you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified of future videos. So, let's paint. I have my paint and a large mop brush ready to go, and as you saw before, we're washing the colour down with a slight incline on the board so we can gather up the paint as we move horizontally across the paper. I've chosen a light mix of ultramarine blue and permanent rose, and we're working gradually down, adding as we get towards the horizon line a little bit more of the permanent rose to give us a slightly violet look, and also adding darker blue where needed, always working horizontally and keeping the brush saturated with colour. Now we're going darker for the foreground. And this, of course, is the sea here is the reflection of the sky. But there is a marked contrast and a marked darkening here. Now I have the basis, I can start to look at the clouds, which is a subject we didn't cover in the previous demonstration of the washes. But I'm using a damp tissue just to take out some of the wet areas, and then going in with a damp brush to allow those blooms, those nuages, to appear in the still wet or still damp paper. I hope you can see clearly enough how the colour is being moved just to create a suggestion of clouds. Once I have that suggestion of clouds, I can add with a liner brush a hint of blue between them, and because the area that I took out with the tissue is drier, the blue is going to stay in the wetter areas to give a glimpse of blue between the clouds. I enjoy working like this. It's very loose, and it doesn't have to be exactly like the image, just kind of using the image as a guide, and I hope you can see enough of it on the left of the picture to see where exactly we're working. I'm thinking of the horizon line now, but I'm washing the line across so it's not too stark, and moving a little bit of colour up to create the feel for the headland which is in the distance. Now we've got a short flat brush because I want to add a little bit more texture for the waves of the sea, but I still want it to be soft and not too dry, so I've wet the paper first. Now using the edge of the flat just to give me an indication of the waves. And the waves breaking on the shore too. Again, washing with the mop brush just to keep things nice and loose. Nothing too stark, nothing too dry. The reflection of the sky also needs to be watered with the mop brush because it is water, it is a reflection. And always the water will help to give that watery look. Makes sense really. Here we are with the foreground darkening with a mixture of Payne's Grey, ultramarine, and we've wet the area right down to the bottom of the paper, and I can spot some colour in and let it move. You can see now how we've got the different graduations, the different washes going down the paper. And this is where I will leave it to dry. So there we have our watercolour washes, what to do and what not to do. The image we've created here has still got work to do. I can go in and define some of the areas. Obviously the foreground could be darker, and the wave here that's washing on the shore needs some work. Even the blues of the sky can be accentuated a little bit more. But the bones of the picture are there, and it was done really in one watercolour wash, gently, gradually, and with lots of water. Water will always help you out. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave any comments you may have. And also suggestions for future videos are always gratefully received. So until the next time, happy painting. Bye.